Welcome to the Mission Assignment Overview for the Mission Specialist. The process starts when a jurisdiction requests assistance and the EOC Manager or Logistics Section Chief accept that request for assistance to create a mission. The Mission Specialist will create the mission. Once it is created, then it can be tracked in the Mission Assignment Board. We can go to View Mission, Edit, and that takes us to the form. When a mission assignment has been created, a PDF should be created and then attached to the mission assignment in WebEOC. Each time there are changes, a PDF should be created and attached. That way everyone can follow the progression of the mission assignment later on down the road. At the top here is the request information for easy visibility. The county or tribe that is requesting the assistance is chosen from the drop-down here. If it is a state agency that is requesting the assistance, they are not in here individually, and so State of Idaho is what should be chosen there. The due date is the date that the mission assignment should be completed and the resource mobilized. The mission assignment title is a short title that shows up on the overview page for easy finding of various resources. It should include what the resource is and then something that helps to describe it if there's more than one choice. If there are several medical doctors, then by adding for Steele Memorial, that gives us a little more information to find the correct mission assignment. This short title may match the request title, or it might not. If there was more to the request and another mission was going to be created, say transportation for medical doctors was going to be provided from another agency and another mission assignment would be created for that, we could use transportation for medical doctors at Steele Memorial as our short title. The mission assignment number would be the same as the request number. On this particular one, it is not, but in the future, these should match up. The -01 tells us that this is the first mission for this request for assistance. In the case of the transportation for the medical doctors, it would be 334-02 as the second mission for this request for assistance. Over to the right is the status of the mission. The EOC status is chosen by the EOC Manager or the Logistics Section Chief. The tasked agency will choose their status, and the requester status is chosen by the requesting agency. The mission specialist should not be changing the status except in occasions where the agency may not have access to WebEOC or for some other reason that they specifically ask the mission specialist to change the field for them. If that occurs, they should come down to additional comments and add in information about why it was changed, who asked the mission specialist to change it, and their position, so that you can document what has happened. You will notice that there are some choices that require comments if it's returned, rejected, or removed by any of the three agencies. Again, that information goes into this additional comments. If it's being returned, it should be information about why it's being returned, what more information is needed. If it's being rejected, then there should be information about why it's being rejected so everyone can follow along with what is going on. The history of those additional comments goes down here, and it will continue to add every time a comment is added. In this case, IDHW, Idaho Department of Health and Welfare, has indicated that ESF-8 has no doctors from any of its agencies available, and they're recommending EMAC. If you get a returned mission assignment, you should talk to your logistics section chief to let them know that it was returned, and they may suggest that you talk to the operations section chief to determine if there is another ESF that could fulfill the request. They may choose to go through EMAC and state-to-state mutual aid to bring those doctors in, or if we're in a federal declaration, they could go to FEMA and request doctors from them. In this case, we would probably look at ESF-16 military because they have doctors and we could see if any were available from there. In the amendment area, this is for any changes that need to be made after the initial mission assignment has been filled out and accepted by everyone. So this could be a change in the cost, a change in the resources that are needed, change in the timeline. There's many different reasons why there might be an amendment, but this would describe what those changes are. This shouldn't be confused with the area down in scope of work description that is the original scope of work. This is for any changes to that. In the providing agency information, the delivery site location tells the tasked agency exactly where they should deliver the resource. Here we have the name of where it should go. There should also be an address here to help us know exactly where to send it. The providing agency is the agency that will be providing that resource. This should be the title of that agency, and you need to make sure that it is correct. If you are unsure of the title, look in the emergency operations plan and you should be able to find that agency's title. It should be spelled out. The providing agency point of contact information needs to all be filled in so everyone knows who to contact about that resource. In the date of work, the start date and estimated end date need to be filled in. The requesting jurisdiction should have added this into the request for assistance. If they did not, you should contact them and find out what their start date is and their estimated end date. If they come back with, we needed this yesterday, that's not a realistic timeline to get the resource together, mobilized, and arrive at the location. So work with the jurisdiction to come up with a good date for a start date. When you give this over to the tasked agency, they may come back saying they can't provide the resource by that start date. If that is the case, then you need to work with the jurisdiction and the tasked agency to come up with a realistic start date and a good estimated end date. This information is important for the tasked agency in figuring out if they can provide the resource and what the estimated cost of that resource will be. The demo date may be filled in later as it gets closer to that time, because often it's uncertain of when that resource will be released. The IOEM information fills in automatically. Special conditions are things that are happening at the location that the tasked agency may need to know, or things that the tasked agency needs to let the IDOC or the jurisdiction know. This could be things like it's extremely muddy, all workers should have boots and will need four-wheel drive vehicles, or there is no potable water, please bring 3 days worth of water with you. The tasked agency may come back and say, we have this resource, but we can only provide it if this happens, and whatever those special conditions are. Again, this area should not be confused with our scope of work general description. The general description here is what we're asking for. This should be as detailed as possible. So 4 medical doctors with ER experience to help triage and medical support. If there was equipment that was needed to be brought with them, that should also be added into this general description. The tasked agency may change this a little bit. If they can't provide 4 medical doctors, they may come back and say, hey, we can provide you 3 medical doctors and a PA that all have ER experience. The tasked agency will then fill in this area here, but the mission specialist may need to help them to understand what each of these are. So force account labor is the staff that works for that agency, and they'll put in the description of what they're going to provide there. Force account equipment is the equipment owned by that agency. Rented equipment, if they need to rent any equipment to support the mission, then that description is there. Contract work and material and supplies. In the cost estimate, the mission specialist should fill in the cost share. Generally, in a state declaration, it's a 50-50 state-local share. You do need to tab through these fields in order for them to calculate properly. The tasked agency should fill in their estimated costs for each of the areas. Again, they need to tab through this so that it figures correctly for each, how much the state's cost will be, how much the local cost will be, and then it totals all of the rows. If you have any questions about what needs to be filled out in the request for assistance or the mission assignment, you can go to the IDOC position description job aids. If you go into logistics, mission, it pulls up those job aids. The ESF response roles is a spreadsheet that shows what things that each ESF can provide out of the emergency operations plan. Once you've determined which ESF can provide the resource, then you can work to find out which agency within that ESF could provide that resource. There's a job aid and a standard operating procedure for the logistics mission, how to create an RFA, how to create the mission assignment, and so you can always use those forms as well. With that, I want to thank you for listening in on how to fill out the IDOC mission assignment form.